Hey guys, I'm Michelle Carpenter, and welcome to my podcast, Keeping It Real. I haven't been here for a while, and I have a beautiful guest that we have connected. As we know, that somehow these connections come together and they happen in divine synchronicity. And I have the amazing Jade de Cruz with me today. And Jade is an author of a book called Divine Love, The Winged Beings of Light. And I'm incredibly excited, as you guys know, to always have new guests and to have the sharing of their own journey. And Jade lives in London. Welcome, Jade. Welcome to Keeping It Real.
Hi, Michelle. Yeah, brilliant. I have not been to New Zealand yet, so it's nice to have the connection through the Zoom.
Yeah, it is. And,
Thanks.
you're always welcome. It's a beautiful country, as I was saying to you earlier on. And it holds so much pureness, purity in the vibration of the nature. And then you've got the ancestral history with, the Wahita and the Maoris. And I was sharing with you briefly that, we're on a journey and activation to go to Castle Hill. It's just magical. It's like your Stonehenge, and these big, big boulders, which just hold so much vibration and so many different beings. But I want to
Mm.
know about your beings of light. How did this beautiful book come into fruition?
Oh yeah. So the winged beings of light are a collective that I channel, and they have massive messages for humanity, for the world, to kind of help humanity empower themselves. So it's an empowerment book, and divine love being the big sort of principle to empower oneself with love, and that creates your sovereign power. And it came into effect because I was the well, I don't like using the word victim, but I was under a spell for a very long time, for many, many years, and needed to have the support to come out of it. I basically taught myself many, many different techniques, and try to find the way out of the spell. And towards the end, the very end, the winged beings of light appeared one day, and I
Wow.
had never channeled in my life. And the first time I channeled them was the messages for the book. So that's how it came about.
That's incredible. And did you feel
Mm.
coming out of the spell, did you feel the presence? Like, was it a very different energy that you were sensing?
Well, not really, in the sense that I mean, I was under this spell for many, many, many years, so it had become very ingrained in me, and it wasn't difficult to come out of. It was different layers that I removed incrementally, bit by bit, different people, different situations. So I never really, it wasn't like a one-time visit and then it was all gone. So I didn't fit every layer. I began to feel myself again a little bit, but I mean, the total time I was under this spell was about 17 years. So,
Wow.
you can't imagine the person you was before it happened. And then 17 later, as an adult, you're changed anyway. Well, you're always changing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really just getting the essence of myself back now,
Wow.
but it's a different sense because I'm also matured in a different way, you know?
Yeah. And do you know how the spell came onto you or into you? Because
Oh,
with
yeah.
integrative quantum medicine, one of the modalities I've learned, we learn a lot about spells and rebound spells, and I'm also just
Mm.
consciously aware that, um, that people all have their own understanding, perhaps, of what it is, because there's a lot of talk about entities, negative entities. So, is it the same thing that you would have felt with having the spell?
Um, this was real voodoo black magic. So it is something
Wow.
quite rare, very rare. And it was put on me by somebody in Jamaica whose grandmother knew how to work with black magic and worked with black magic. and it was from my fingerprint. So I was
Wow.
consciously asked for my fingerprint. I gave it, and they used that to create the spell.
Wow.
So
And I
yeah,
can
very,
imagine you were
very
very
rare
young.
scenario.
Were you very young at the time?
No, I was 27. It was more that, um, and I say this quite a lot, you don't think, you know, if you tend to think that if you don't believe in something, it can't happen to you. And so even though I was kind of like, this stuff doesn't exist, but a very spiritually aligned person, quite strong in myself, and I hesitated to hand over my fingerprint. It wasn't something I felt comfortable doing because it was a very
Ah,
odd thing. But I sort of thought, well, what's really the worst thing that can happen?
mm,
Do you know what I mean? I didn't
mm,
believe you could in black magic. I just wasn't one of those things that I
sure.
thought was my truth or existence. And that's what happened. So,
Gosh, and how did it affect you?
oh, Michelle, it's a big one. It
Okay,
affects you. Um, it's very, I mean, it's a trauma.
sure. Yeah,
Fragmentations of yourself for
yeah.
17 years,
Wow.
and you don't know you're under a spell either.
Sure.
And it's like the trauma is, I mean, it's immense, because that your sort of normal ambition that you have in your 20s, to go out and do life, create life, and do the job you love and all the rest of it, that then gets blocked and it can't happen. It just doesn't
Mm,
happen. And it's like you have this window,
mm.
invisible ceiling of glass.
Almost like a
Uh,
flea that's in a glass and you can't, like you keep hitting the lid, doof, doof, doof,
yeah,
bouncing.
you can't raise your vibration, literally, and
Wow.
you don't know why. And you don't know, there's literally no one. Where do you go? Who can help you with this kind of stuff? Because I mean, this is
Sure.
really serious, deep stuff. And one, I didn't even know what happened. And, you know, um, even when I kind of came to the realization of what had happened, it's like, well, who the hell's gonna sort this out?
Yes. Yeah. Who do you turn to? Because it kind of,
And so,
like, I just sort of sense like within the matrix, because as we know, everything's energy, but where do
yeah.
you start? Where's the starting point?
Well,
It's,
that's
you
the
and I
thing.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, it forces you, and I had to turn into myself. I mean, fortunately, I had my connection with spirit, and that's
Hmm.
the one thing that pulled me through. Even if my intuition was gone completely. Everything's knocked out. Nothing works. Your compass doesn't work. It's you living, not knowing. Um, making decisions without having that everything's constantly wrong. Nothing goes right. Nothing goes right.
Sure.
And so your evidence of your life so far has been like a string of problems and things that have gone wrong. So how do you then trust yourself? You don't. You
Yes.
lose all sense of self-trust, or you lose all sense of certainty. And of course, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. Fortunately, I never lost my connection with source. And I think, and in retrospect, I understand why I've always been a very, very strong soul, because I think you can't get through something like this if you're not.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only thread is that to keep you going.
Well, it almost feels to me as like you're kind of like in and out of consciousness. You're doing this kind of like almost like a little sideward steps, and you're like, "Whoa, okay, there's the light. Oh my God." Did it feel like that? Was that kind of how when you talk about the thread,
You
it's like such a fine line, and kind of grasping onto, I mean, it's beautiful to hear you talking about source, because it's always there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's what it is that you always know your truth. And at the end, you think like, God, there has to be more than life. There has to be more than something than this constant way of being. Like, I know this is not the way things are supposed to be because I had, quite an aligned, good path up until that point. So I knew, I mean, I didn't start off that way. So I knew my truth and I thought I knew something's not right. I knew something's not right, but it's very difficult to figure out how or why.
Mm. Did you
So
find teachers
that
along the way or people along the way that helped you or guided you, or you just did this journey on your own?
well, the thing is, Michelle, is that because your vibration, when it's like your energy is literally put down, so you're almost invisible to other people.
Wow.
You have a voice, but no one listens to you. No one hears you. It's like you're not uh your your values go straight down. You're not seen.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even vibrate at the level of reaching help because you're that low. I mean,
Sure.
I was right on the curb.
Mm.
I couldn't, and I was on the curb for like forever on the curb.
Mm. Wow.
So, you have to be strong and know within the power within that something's going to change one day.
Mm.
And towards the end, I had a divine intervention. And that's when I started to attract or kind of, I had a lot of experiences where my timeline shifted. Um, and I know that through different bizarre experiences that happened to me. And I was consequently meeting different people who would point me in the direction of someone who could help me and get me there and get me there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then at that point at the end, the winged beings of light came in.
That's beautiful. So let's talk about them.
Mm.
Um, how I get like goosebumps even as you just mentioned them. I'm like, are they angels? Do they have wings?
That's
And
really interesting. So the winged beings of light are such a hilarious bunch of deities and gods and goddesses. They call themselves the winged beings of light. None of them have wings, and they actually consist of the Egyptian Isis and Mart and Thoth, but also like the sun is in there. I have a Native American spirit, white buffalo, is in there, so it's a real collection. Christ Jesus is there. It's a collection of energies who
beautiful,
work together. Yeah, yeah, they're
beautiful.
very, very energetic, like they're very bubbly.
Really, that's
Yeah,
so awesome. And
yeah.
in your connection with them, like, did you get stronger like every time? Like, did they, like, you talk about the different, you talk about Isis and Thoth, and um, did they start dropping in, or was it just this like that you just saw all of them at once?
They all came at once, so they introduced
Wow,
themselves as we, the winged beings of light. And
beautiful.
and they also do have a separate energy, each of them, who does also communicate with me. So yeah, that it's all they're always there. The bunch is always there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so something as a channeler myself, and this is what I think people kind of question and wonder. Now,
Yeah.
when I'm channeling the Council of Eight, I can still drink water. They do, I mean, they took lipstick the ones to I came out of the session and that it was like the Joker. Like it was like they drew a draw and I think they put like little rings here or something because I still took a photo. And
Yeah.
the only thing I've contracted with them is like, please don't undress me, guys. Okay. But sometimes I'll come out of a session and my hair's all over the place and they really
Really.
use things as an example. But I can
Yeah.
still
Wow.
be like Michelle,
Interesting.
the personality steps aside and
Yeah.
they come through, but I'm still able to, and I think there's been this misconception is like, well, are you still you? And
Mm.
yes, I am, but I'm still able to do everything that they just
Mm.
kind of, I want to say like,
Yeah.
they use my hands a lot, and they use
Oh,
examples on my
wow.
table so that people are very understanding, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
plant seeds a lot, but they're here to walk with us in our humanness. And
Yeah.
I've had clients come back to me and say, "Oh my God, Michelle, like the Council of Eight laughed at me, and I was so taken back." But when they listen back,
Yeah.
when they listen back to the recording or the session, they've gone,
It makes so much
"Oh,
sense.
they taught
Yeah.
me, like I've got to start laughing at myself. Okay, I get it." Does
Yeah.
that happen
Great.
with
Yeah.
the winged
Yeah.
beings of light?
So I think so you sound like you're more of a medium. Are you when you channel?
I do both. I do both.
Right.
So in my mediumship, I connect with loved ones who passed over. When I
Right.
channel, it's a
Okay.
very different vibration that comes through.
Right.
And it took me a
Right.
long time. I closed my eyes for a long time, and they've been connected to me my whole entire life, I've come to discover.
Wow.
And
Wow.
because they've shown me when I was a baby how they've held me up, and this
Oh,
has been
wow.
just part of, but because of my trauma, I pushed it out, I pushed it away. But yes, I work very multidimensionally in my work. So I'm able
Mm.
to, like I say, I've got the mediumship abilities working with loved ones passed over. But when they come through, I wasn't trusting myself for a long time. And
Mm.
so I first kept my eyes closed, and I could feel my vibration shifting, and I would hit crashes. So for many, many, many months, I didn't realize I needed to supplement for my body, because
Right.
my body literally started to quiver, and my hands were doing things in my therapy, like just doing the eight, and I could just hear these other voices, and I was like, who is that? And then the
Yeah.
one day I was meditating, and then they came through and they said, "We're the Council of Eight." And my head went straight to, oh, okay, so you're all sitting at a table, like a boardroom table. and
Interesting.
and they're like, no. And they are energies of Princess Diana, Nelson Mandela, Mother
Oh,
Mary,
wow.
Mother
Gosh.
Teresa, Gandhi, very, very
Wow.
high vibe. And they've shown me they're from the 15th dimension, but they've also walked the earth's
Right.
planes. So that's
Right.
why they're here to help humanity, because they've been
Right.
in the physical form.
Right.
And they're beautiful. I mean, sometimes
Wow.
even I, with the connection with them, I think, whoa, that's incredible. That's like so
Yeah.
simple. How come we didn't think of that, you know? And
Yeah.
it's just pure. It's pure and wholesome. And then I have these tonings that have come through me,
Right.
which has been incredible.
Beautiful.
And as we know, everything is
Beautiful.
vibration.
Yeah.
So they may
Mm.
say to a client, um, oh, you have sorrow, and it's from your, your lineage of your great 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 grandmother. And then they'll bring a toning through, or they whistle and chant. I have a lot of elemental energy, and interestingly
Lovely.
enough, I also have
Mm.
red eagle. And red eagle is an American native. So, and I
Beautiful.
have this chanting coming through, and sometimes I'm like an opera singer. I'm like, oh my God, wow, I could reach that
Beautiful.
note.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Beautiful.
just me in short, as to how it's worked. But so,
Yeah.
how does it work with you? Do you meditate? How do you go into this
Um,
state or
no,
the space?
wing beings of light, I see them with my third eye. So
Okay.
I see them, and they either you know, um they visually show me something, or I I channel, or I can channel, but I can't, I have to have my eyes closed,
Hmm.
and I can't concentrate on anything else. I literally have to do it on like a voice recorder or something.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't have to go into a meditation.
Okay.
I find that they're very present and attainable very fast.
Hmm. Nice.
Uh, yeah, yeah, quite quick.
And would you be open to bringing them through for us today, or is that something that you're not doing? I know we didn't discuss this before, so that's why I'm just
Mm.
consciously aware of and respectful of asking. So,
Yeah.
would you be able to introduce us to them?
Yeah, so they're always on a stage, these guys. So I see them on a stage at the moment. That they're real performers.
I love
Um,
that.
so so yeah, if you've got Isis there doing a bow and a curtsy for you.
Thank you. I'll
Um,
receive.
I think they've sort of said they'd be delighted to share some of their wisdom. What would you like to know, Michelle?
What would I like to know? Oh gosh. Um, sure, so many questions, and I can actually feel the energy. It's like, ooh, it's just
They're,
like
mm,
magical. So
yeah.
thank you for being present and here. Um, what would I like to ask? It's about the collective. Where are we at in
Mm,
terms of our collective energy at this moment in time,
mm,
please?
mm. Well, that's not a, it's not an answer which, it's, I mean, the truth of the matter is what they're telling me and showing me is we are at a very crucial point. We're at a bad point. We're not at a good point. Um, and it's something they know that people are going to be uncomfortable about hearing. But there is a need, and they're here because now there is almost an urgency to change the course of what's happening in society in terms of the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what's been going on, in the last sort of 30 to 40 years, the shift and the speed to which we've gone through all this technological development is very manipulative on our souls and on our minds and our bodies, and we are very vulnerable. Humanity is very vulnerable at this moment in time, and it's absolutely crucial that we wake up to what's happening in the system and the control mechanisms that are being used.
Mm.
And the winged beings of light are really a part of this push. And it's very interesting, Michelle, because I don't channel, I don't tap into my channeling. So that's the end of what they've said, but I'm just going to intervene here. I don't tap into my channeling often. But I am preparing another book, and my editor said to me, Jade, make some time to channel a bit every day. And I usually have to sort of think, okay, I'm going to make a bit of time today. But today, I instinctively spent 3 hours channeling. And it was streaming through me, and it was really weird because I didn't call it in. And it's the kind of first time I've had to kind of stop what I'm doing and say, okay, I'm gonna get my voice memo out and take, record. And it was a lot of this message that came through
Wow.
today. Um, they're basically saying we really have to start moving and standing our ground for what's going on in the world.
Mm. And how does it
Yeah.
look for human beings? There's this rapid transition that is happening, even time
Mm,
wise or timelines, I find. But a lot of people um, seem to think that there's a lot of people that aren't awake as per se, and which for me kind of creates separation. So, what would they suggest to help people to become more awake and to stand in their truth? Because a lot of, and I say us collectively, myself
yeah.
included, I don't know what
Mm,
that looks like, even though I've got wonderful team, my spirit team are amazing. But what else could we do? What is it going to take for us to just say yes, like let's put the white flag in with the
mhm,
massive big
mhm.
pole? What do we
I
need to
think,
do?
yeah, I think so that they're saying that there's not enough. So this is the winged beings of light are saying there's not enough courage. People aren't brave. People aren't brave anymore in this society.
Mm-hmm,
There's no that we're weak. We're weak.
mm-hmm,
I mean, they're
mm-hmm,
quite blunt, the winged beings of light. And so the book the first book that I wrote was quite a gentle way in to say, look, start confronting your issues as a human, start confronting what's happening, start cleaning yourself up inside out, you're part of the whole and all of that. But the message now is becoming more fervent. It's like there's more fever rising in the energy, and it's what they're saying to humanity, or what they want people to do now is take it or leave it, right? But if you don't change now, there won't be an opportunity to change. It's just becoming more blunt, start doing the healing, whatever way you want, but start something.
I love that, and I want to say thank you to the beings that that they've been with you and helped you through this massive transition of your life, and because you wouldn't be here right now, and it's beautiful to connect with you. So I want to just say personally thank you to them for coming through you and for sharing. Is there any personal messages for myself, perhaps, that I need to have a good kick up the butt? Like, do they think that I need that too? Because sometimes I'm like, Jesus, how many emotions are in this body?
Yeah, I think that they're saying we stand with you, with you, Michelle. You're doing well, Michelle. You're very strong, and we're right with you.
You.
And what I'm getting through is that you're a very strong soul, and you're in the right place and a good place right now where you are, and there are things still that you're going to break, but you're capable of breaking them because you've become stronger.
Yes, that is definitely a truth. So thank you.
Yeah. You're becoming more resilient as you get older, and so what used to be a perceived thick layer around you before is now thinning, because the inner is strong.
Yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And it's wonderful to have the confirmation, because sometimes on these journeys, and I'm noticing it with a lot of light workers, star seeds, light walkers, whatever the terminology is, there's kind of these wavering times. The energy feels, it feels very volatile. And even though this is the year of the dragon, which is about speaking our truth, which is about being stronger in ourselves, but at the time, some of us are just wondering, and a lot of people are kind of treading water and not too sure what is the next direction of where we're going.
Yeah. And I think that's to do with the fact that people have lost, I know this again, like not wanting to say anything offensive, but the truth is that humanity have lost their way. They really have lost a direction, because of the control mechanism, because of the matrix, because of the this sort of corrupt system, which is artificial. It's not due to our own making as a human species, and this is something that has to stop now. Because it's not going to get better.
Jade, you are 100% spot on. And I was thinking even something, so I'm a mom of 2 kids. And I was thinking, even the control, yet the fear that is literally shoved onto us. I mean, you and I discussing before I, started to record and introduced you, that my daughter was born in the UK in the NHS. But if I'd known that actually, we get these little red books and everything's measured. Everything's like, okay, she's measured against this. That's control, but it's also fear. Because, we get into these mothers groups and how's your baby doing? No, how's your baby doing? No, it's under the growth mark. And yet every baby is a miracle. But I realized in the last few years, even that is the fact that my daughter is so afraid of injections and vaccines, and well, not the vaccines, but the injections. And I remember her being a little baby, a week old, and them they stuck it into her. They first do the one that goes in the arm here in hospital, and then they do it in the leg. And
First trauma right there.
massive trauma, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to this day she gets so overwhelmed, and she's working with her own self, and she's 20 now. But even that, me not having a voice, because this is what you have to do, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
then I completely flipped the pendulum with my son. And my husband and I spoke about it, and I was getting into more of the understanding in South Africa, and I was following a woman called Mary Ann Shearer, who had been on this wonderful journey of knowing that avocados were really good for us. Okay, like I'm talking 40 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years
Yeah.
ago, it was being
Yeah.
lambasted like, no,
Yeah.
they're not good fats, you know. Now look where we are.
Yeah.
Like, hello,
Yeah.
eat avocados every day, guys.
Yeah.
But she was saying that, you know, we didn't have to have our kids vaccinated. So I discussed it with my husband, my second husband, and he's like, no, we have to, he's going to get sick. And I said, how do you know? How do you know?
Yeah.
And so we eventually decided not to have him. And I'm probably going to ruffle some people's feathers, even discussing this, because again, it was a very different stance, and I'd wished I'd known. I know that I didn't know at the time with
Yeah.
my daughter.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
6.5 years later, I was coming into my own. And I want to
Yeah.
share this with everybody, because it takes courage to stand up against the
Right.
norm.
No,
And
absolutely. The
I was a
freedom to
part of it.
choose for
Yes,
yourself.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, because I often refer to the Kalahari Bushmen. Okay, look at
Yeah.
the tribes.
Yeah.
They just live their life according to nature.
Yeah.
And I'm
They
sorry, I'm
do.
getting really passionate, right? So I need to calm down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you
But
know,
you've hit it right there. I know the Kalahari. I've spent some time with them there in Namibia.
really,
Yeah.
wow. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're just my people,
Yeah.
man. And I often, you know, often the energy, their presence comes to me
Yeah.
where I'm like, what would you guys do in this situation, you know? And as you know, tribes, they have the hunters, the gatherers, the, you know, the nourishers or the nurturers, and they just make it happen easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but yet in our Western world, that is this culture that's been created. It's got to be this, it's got to be that. Da, 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 da. If you're not using this kind of cream, and if you're not, and it drives us batshit. Well, it drove me batshit crazy. And I wish that, I think, not I wish, but I also think, and I know that many of us are coming into that stance of courage, where we're saying no. Because
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
discussing the vaccines with my husband, he
Yeah.
was adamant. He's like, no, we need to have this done. And I said, but it's fear-based. How do we know? How do we keep his system healthy? And he's one of the strongest kids, you know. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
immigrated here, and then they didn't want to
Yeah.
take him into the schools. Where's his vaccine? Where's his
Yeah.
vaccine?
Oh God. So it's the control beginning
So
to
do you
end.
see, yeah, so
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
crossing a traffic light the other day, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'm going to jaywalk. I'm old enough. I'm 51 years old. I can walk across a freaking traffic light, man. But
Oh God. Yeah.
it's these kinds of things that have
Yeah.
dumbed us down, I believe.
Oh God. And there's no that it's like, you know, to feel comfortable to say no, for goodness sake. It's, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like the
yes,
freedom to choose. There is no freedom to choose.
yes,
No, you
yes,
go the other way, the intimidation, the pressure, the wave, the tide against you, you
yes,
know, and that's why we have to be courageous and, you know, stop all of this.
yes. And you said it earlier on. It's about no, it's our intuition, you know. And I know you said that your I think your words were, your intuition was not on point because of
Yeah,
the past spell.
yeah,
um
yes, yeah,
but we're
yeah.
born with this innate intuition, and obviously, like, in, you know, for most of us, we're rediscovering. It's kind of like we're pulling it back, it's there, it's always there in spirit, because we're all a part of source.
Bring it back in now.
Yes, yes.
Pull it
And
back, pull that power in.
yes, and that's the knowing, you know. And I'm not here, please, with anybody that's watching this, to berate anybody that has gone down the journey that they have, because we've all done things in the moment that have felt true for us, and
Of
there are
course.
moments where
Yeah.
I've gone into the system, where I've gone, this is true for me, and it's brought a lot of judgment, because people might not have liked what I decided in that moment. And
Yeah.
that's where I feel, and my hope is that we are walking more towards the compassion for one
Mm.
another.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
even if you look at Facebook, that it started out years ago, and it started out with such a beautiful connection, and it was about like, the intrigue. Oh, what's happening with that person? And oh my God, that's amazing. Look what's happening. That person's had a baby, and then it got to the food. And then we're like, okay, like how many more meals do we need to see people? Like, but that's
Right.
a person's
This is
joy.
what I had for breakfast this morning. Okay. Enjoy.
But that's their joy, So you see how easy it
Yeah.
can be like, and then it's like, oh. And that's
Mhm.
what I hope, is that we can be more in the moment of
Yeah.
respecting people's decisions
Right.
and
Yes.
respecting where they're at, and
Right.
showing up in a space of compassion and love and truth,
Absolutely.
honoring that person. Because,
Being the magic of
yes,
ourselves rather
yes,
than
I
it
love that.
being controlled and constrained and restrained and suppressed. Just
Yes,
be the magic, like you said, with your baby. It's like, that you've got this beautiful baby girl that's just come into the world. Enjoy the presence rather than coming in with an injection, right? Let's take that magic away. Let's put some fear there. you know
absolutely,
Got to bring the
absolutely.
magic back.
We got to bring the magic back, and that's what I love about the indigenous and the Africans,
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
have
Yeah,
that, magic, they have that
yeah,
presence that is so
yeah.
simple,
Yes.
and they want for nothing,
Yeah.
and I don't know about you, Jade, but I'm kind of
Mm,
going through this clearing at the moment, like, oh, do I
mm.
need this? Who needs 500 crystals? Like, not that I have that many, but
I'm not a
seriously.
crystal person.
you It's
Yeah.
interesting, I get gifted crystals and I'm like, I don't feel it, other people can feel the vibration. I'm like, what am I missing?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
um
I'm like you though. I also, I mean, I've got one which is particularly, I feel that one, but on the whole, it's not my calling, crystals.
Absolutely. So isn't that what makes everybody unique though, and magical in
Right.
their
Yeah,
own
of
way?
course. Absolutely.
Because I know some of my friends that can just feel the vibration, and then they know
Absolutely.
exactly where crystals come from, and I'm like,
Right.
wow, that's
Absolutely.
incredible. But we
Absolutely.
all unique in our own blueprint, our own thumbprint.
Absolutely. And you know what? That magic, just going back to that point about the Kalahari tribes in the desert,
Oh,
that
please
magic
tell
is
me more.
so powerful.
Yeah. So
That
you
presence
were with them?
overwhelming.
Did you spend
Yeah.
time with them?
Yeah, I did. So, they showed, I was traveling with my daughter all across Namibia, and we spent some time with them, and they showed us exactly how they could, they could track the stars, the time, the footprints. They knew which animals were there nearby. Even the simplest things like making food with the certain root plants in the desert. But it's the you know you communicate through the presence, not through the language, right? Because there's a language barrier there, but you
Sure.
understand everything through the presence and the enigmatic feeling
Oh, love that.
um around the environment, the feeling. It's like they really don't care if you can see half their bottom. I mean, they don't care, right? And there we are with our jeans and our bags and our cameras. They couldn't give a toss. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and I love that. It's
Yeah.
just that freedom to be unrestricted, you know? and
I
to
know,
find that
right?
happiness within that. Yes.
Yes, and even you've just brought me to the picture of even the woman who just, their boobs are out and they've never worn
Yeah,
bras
exactly. I
before.
mean, they don't care.
They don't
You
care.
know.
They know nothing about menopause. Like they
Right.
don't give a shit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I often pull on their energy and I literally
Yeah.
do. I'm like, okay, what would
Mm.
what would because there are so many belief systems that
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
currently working through at the moment with menopause. And last night I woke up at 2 and I was like, okay, body, what do
Mm.
you need to do? I forgot.
Right. Yeah.
Everything's outside, outside, outside. What do you
Right.
need? Breathe,
What's
Michelle. Big breaths. You've got to
yeah.
calm yourself down. Just big breaths.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's still a part that plays out,
Yeah.
again, that we're
Yeah.
always connected into the collective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so whatever that means, it shows up in different ways at different times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and I really truly hope that
Mm.
everybody that's watching this today is able to
Mm.
go, what is the simplicity of life? Where did we forget to be simple?
Well, look, also, just as you was talking about that, it made me think we are we're in an we're in an artificial timeline, time zone. Our bodies are out of sync. Our whole clock and the melatonin and all of that. I mean, we're not living with the moonlight anymore. We're not moving or rising with the sunlight. um if we compare ourselves to natural the tribes living a very natural life that are not in the Western mindset. So we're not reading inside, because the outside, the external part of us, is still routinely adapting to this artificial light source and having dinner at 9 and having to be up for this and having to get there for that time. It's not a natural way of being with the earth
Yeah.
and the resonance of life, in
So
that sense.
true. So true. And there's all this busyness and chaos
The
continuously
busyness,
that's coming
right?
towards us,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like a double-edged sword, because
Mm,
you and I wouldn't be able to connect right now if it wasn't for
mhm.
this technology.
Of course. Yeah,
But having said that, if we
yeah,
lived on an island catching fish, would we miss it? Probably not. Um, so you see how it's like always this is how I find, like, we navigate life, and this is
yeah,
kind of me that I'm talking about. It's like, oh,
yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah,
like, oh, and then okay, hold on, Michelle, come back to this. Um,
yeah,
so I like to teach empowerment, which I know you do too. So when I have clients that say, what do you think? Should I book in again? I'll say, what do you want to do? Just sit with this
yeah.
for the next few days. Sit with the vibration. If they're booked in with the Council of
Right.
Eight, just
Yeah,
sit with it the next few days. There might be a few emotions come up.
yeah.
You might feel blissful. Who knows? And then you
Mm-hmm.
decide. Because
Yeah.
again, it's that this is what you've got to do. And people like to be told. And
Yes.
we lost our
Yeah.
voices somewhere.
Part of that too.
It's
Yes.
crazy, hey? So
Yeah.
I know you
Yeah.
teach empowerment. How do
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you were just saying, people like to be told. Well, because from the day you're born, you're told what to do. You're
Yeah,
told how to behave. You're told what to eat. You're told what to study. You're told what's good for you. You're told everything. So where does room for your voice come in? Personal
yeah,
expression
yeah.
and encouragement of freedom to talk and have an opinion. It never comes
Yes,
in.
yes, so
Never comes
true,
in.
so
And if
true.
it does come in, it's judged.
Oh, my soul,
It's judged.
you are on point, and my head's going to an email that we received. My son's just joined high school, and he's just a
Yeah,
little live wire. He's a little guy that just loves to be funny, and he's
yeah,
busy, and he's all about being outdoors and active and that. And now he's
mm,
been shut down. And my husband and I sent an email saying, please allow
mm,
him to be the character that he is,
right.
because
Yeah,
he is allowed to be who he is. But there's these,
yeah,
it's exactly that.
yeah,
Let's put the lid on it. He doesn't
yeah,
conform. He doesn't fit
yeah,
in the way our schooling system is
right.
meant to be. And it's just like,
Exactly. Yeah,
so, but how
yeah,
do we navigate? How do we navigate the being respectful? Because that's what we're teaching him, is be respectful, as long as you're not being rude. but at the same time, be you. Because for me, that's how we show up. You know, we find that integration, we find that level of, actually, I
Right.
am me. And again,
Yeah.
it's that navigation of life. Um,
Yeah.
okay, putting out, you know, even with friendships, when do we
Yeah.
overextend ourselves and when don't we? Well, for me,
Yes.
it's got there's got to be a reciprocal of the, is it, am I saying this
Absolutely.
correct? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Reciprocity, is that right? A reciprocity
Yeah.
of
Yes.
backwards and
Yes. Yes.
forwards.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but I love what you said. It's about the vibration, because I believe that even if you and I stop talking,
Mm.
we would just sense.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like my
Yeah.
heart is so warm right now.
Yeah.
Just, you know, as soon
Yes.
as we connected, and I get cold when I'm going into a different way of being.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the same happens with you, but it's just, you're right, words are limiting, aren't they? And I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of us are discovering,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
is our
Absolutely.
language
Yeah.
is not as open as the universal flow.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
As the
any more words from
energy.
your
Yeah.
beautiful beings? Like, could they just give us a good kick up the butt?
That's
Could
what
they
they
just
do. They
project
do
us into
usually.
2029?
Oh, there's a phrase in my book. It's so funny you said that. And they said, we just want to kick your bum like with frenzy. Um, yes, like they are the kick up the butt crew.
Yes.
Um, um, no, I think they just want to support and encourage this discussion that we're having. I mean, I think they're all for it, and they're big supporters and advocates is what I'm getting coming
Mm,
through now. Um, and that and actually that there is a force and a movement growing. You know, there is and this is what I actually channeled through earlier today, but there is a force of light coming through,
mm,
and it's getting stronger and it's becoming more powerful.
mm,
And people need to recognize themselves as being a light. We're
mm.
all lights, and we really have to turn our light up and ignite it. And that shows as being compassionate to oneself, compassionate to others, allowing people to speak their truth, and the importance of speaking your own truth. You have to express your truth.
Yeah,
Whether or not people want to hear it, you have a right to be heard. And that's
sure.
what's important. And people are afraid to speak up or to speak out.
Yes, so true. And I don't know how you're finding the vibration in the UK, but you know, this has been I don't know a lot about the history of New Zealand, but I know a little bit. And there was a lot of fighting with the ancestors years ago, again, fighting for the
Right,
land. And it's just
right,
like,
right,
who said? Who said this belongs to, you know, we
right.
have certain
Drives me
pristine,
mad. All this stuff drives me
it's
mad.
crazy. You know, it's like you can't go there because that's owned by a certain, you know, people or race or culture. And it's like,
Right.
who said? Like, this was
Yeah,
gifted
who
to us.
said?
I feel like we're so blessed to be
Who
on.
owns the earth, Michelle? Who owns it, right? Who
Exactly,
owns the earth?
exactly.
Come on,
100%.
give us that at least, you know.
Yes.
Let's control the earth as
Yeah.
well. I mean, you
Yes.
know, we're already being controlled nearly with the air and the water, but give us the
I
earth.
know. Just give us something. And that's where I think that we are taking our power back. I don't know, again, what it's
Yeah.
like in the UK, but here people are cultivating, growing their own fruit and vegetables. It's something that we feel very strong about. I was sharing with you
Mm.
earlier on how we have honesty boxes, you know, that you can just go put money in, and
Fantastic.
our neighbors are selling plums and limes, and they're fresh off the tree. And that's how,
Fantastic.
you know, it's the
Yeah,
swapping, you know, it's
beautiful.
like the way life, I believe, used to be many, many, many centuries ago.
Mm. Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
feel like we're walking towards that. And
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of Next Level Soul, Alex Ferrari, his
Oh,
podcast.
yes, I think so. Yes, yes.
But the beauty of Alex is, and that's where I go, oh my God, when I see his viewership growing or his membership growing on YouTube, it's because, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this with, because a lot of us talk about him, because he started with like I don't know, 5,000 viewers, and now he's like over 700. And that's where you go, people want the information. People want the
Right.
information because he's, you know,
Yeah.
he's had myself on, but he's had
People
many
are
other channelers and
starving
near-death
for
experience.
knowledge.
Absolutely, because there is so much
Yeah.
out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's starting to pour in
yes,
finally now. It's
yes,
like it's not limited or kept for the few anymore.
yes.
Uh,
And that's
you
where I
know,
get
and
excited because people are
yes,
waking up. It's like,
yes,
yes, like you said,
and
starving for the
realizing,
knowledge.
right, they have the right to it also, you know, before it's like,
Yes.
oh, you're not in the mastership club, or you're not in
Yeah,
the, you know, this is a mystery school. If you kind of like sit in silence for 5 years, we might give you a secret. We don't need that crap anymore. It's now accessible for anyone who chooses to learn and to grow and to evolve
yeah,
and
yeah,
to start living and
yeah.
enjoying life, not
I know.
surviving.
So that,
So,
but you know, that's the core of what I think we are all shifting, is that
yes,
we don't have to live hand to mouth math. You know, it's kind of
right.
like, what else is out there? How can, so have you heard about breatharians?
Yes, 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 yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
and even looking, if anybody doesn't know what the Kalahari Bushmen look like, guys, they are little, they're tiny,
they are,
and
they are.
they
They're really
they
skinny,
probably
aren't they?
eat, they're
Yeah,
skinny and they
yeah,
want for nothing. They probably eat very little, whereas
yes,
again,
yeah.
as Westerners, we stuff our faces, you know, because just in
No,
case we're
no,
not
we
going to
don't
have.
need it all. We don't need
No,
it
we
all.
don't. And
Mm,
I was amazed when I heard about breatharians because they're
mm,
literally living off light and water. And it's
yeah,
like, wow. I'd
yeah,
heard
yeah,
this many, many, many years ago
yeah.
with Deepak Chopra. He spoke about, um, and it was somebody within that lived, I think there might be an Arab community or something where you could go and they don't eat for 3 months. And my
Yeah.
head was at that time, no ways, that's impossible. How do you live
Yeah,
without eating?
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
now I'm like, whoa, that, you
Mm,
know, there's the intermittent fasting that's been
mm,
introduced.
mhm,
Um, and
mhm,
we do
mhm,
need very
mhm.
little to live on. We
Yeah,
really
it's
do.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
mammoth shift that we're all going through. And I'm very grateful to have guests
yeah,
like yourself and meet people
yeah,
like yourself because you're here to be part of the shift and the
yeah,
change.
yeah.
So
Thank you.
where can people find you, Jade, and find your book? I'm sure people are going, where's a book? How can we get a book?
It's on Amazon. So
Awesome.
it's Divine Love, Emotional Mastery by the Winged Beings of Light. Yeah,
Wonderful.
it's
Okay,
on Amazon.
awesome. And you've got your
But
second book that you're writing at the moment?
yeah, yes, yes,
Okay,
coming out hopefully
awesome.
next year. Yeah,
And do you
yeah.
work with individuals at all? Like, can people
I
connect with you?
do. I have been doing that for quite a few years. I'm shifting away from that now, just because I'm now sort of in the process of writing another book and, you know, preparing sort of more bigger projects and things like that. However, um, I don't really put myself out there, but if people approach me, I know that I'm got to work with them, if you know what I mean.
Wonderful. Yes,
So if you feel like you want to get in touch, then please do. And I'd be very happy to see, you know, yeah,
where
what,
it goes. Awesome.
yeah, where it goes. Yeah.
And any last words of wisdom? What is your word of wisdom or statement or sentence that you can offer to anybody who's
Oh.
watching today?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was because you give me so many threads that I can then feel like I need to sort of
I
like,
know I get
oh,
so excited. I'm like, Michelle, calm down. I can feel
yeah,
myself. Calm
you
down.
get me really excited. I'm like, I can say
Sorry.
this as well. So coming back to your last point that you said about the food, right? And not needing. And so I guess one message that I'd like to share is that know when enough is enough. We don't need to consume and to buy and to have, you know, that's also control. It's like we're constantly being fed the fact that we need, but we don't need.
Mhm.
We don't need it. We're okay. you know, as you say, just look within and, you know, look, if you only had £5 a week to live off, I'm sure you'd manage. It
Yeah,
sounds like you wouldn't, but you would. Find a
yeah,
way to do it. It's just about
absolutely.
adapting your position instead of responding continuously to the program. Because the more they feed you and the more you go, oh, bring it all on, the more you get sucked up and consumed. And, you know, you really are then mind, body, and soul gone.
Yes, and it's living outside of ourselves instead of
Right.
living inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
So, from my place or my part, I am supplementing my body at the moment, and that is taking something from the outside and putting it in. But I body test and I ask my body, what is it I'm in a shop and I look like a crazy woman, but I just hold it against my heart because your heart knows. And
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
taught it to many people. It's just like, just close your eyes and you'll see your body will sway
Hey,
forward or it'll give you a no, because
right.
not everything is for everyone. So
Right.
again, even it's that simple statement of, bite into a lemon. Like we know what it like. It's like, oh my God, we can taste it right there. So listen to that, because you know
Yeah.
what your body knows. It innately
Everybody
knows,
knows. It
has a way.
knows.
But we are learning and
Mm,
reteaching ourselves to listen to that innate wisdom.
mhm. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
out there. So it's almost like I want to do a flick back to where we started with you and going through your whole transition and having the spell and that, and your innate wisdom is what you tapped back into. This source was always there,
Right.
and but
Yeah.
it was like you tap back into it. And I
Yeah.
think that is just magical. It just goes to show what a strong human being you are, to even know that it's there, because so many humans are searching, like
Mm.
what, and
Mhm. Mhm.
sometimes, guys, we don't have to search, just be.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Just sit on a piece of lawn if you can, or if for people who live in high-rise buildings, I'll say, just get a pot plant and just stare at it
Yeah.
and get the
Yeah.
energy from it,
Yeah.
because it will teach us so much
Yeah.
if we listen, if
Absolutely.
we tune in. But
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
letting go of all the chaos, because there's so many other antennas, I think, that are out
Right.
there. So
Yeah.
we live in a beautiful state of change, but we've got to
Yes.
do the work, I believe. And the work is
Yes.
exactly the kind of like, oh, I look at like a shovel, like, let's look in. There it is. There's that old emotion of rage. Damn it.
Yeah.
And then just,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
saying to a client, because there's also this flick of the switch, and I don't know if you've
Mm.
seen this or heard it, but there's this absolute, and I went into this, where the spiritual part of us is like, we're not allowed to get angry. We've just got to show up in love
Oh
all the
God, yes,
time.
nonsense.
And it
And then you
becomes
you never tackle the emotion, and it just gets
absolutely,
trapped in you, shoved aside, always lingering. Yeah.
yes, yes. And I love that, because it's lingering. Vibration
Mm.
is exactly
Mhm.
that. If I was to take
Mhm.
my tuning forks and go ding,
Mm.
it's the vibration that lingers. So we want
Yeah.
to clear the emotion, work with the
Right.
emotion,
Engaging it. Yeah.
absolutely. And that for me is doing the work. And
Absolutely.
when we
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
clear, our antenna, I believe, becomes more open and more open to
Absolutely.
receiving.
We're
Yeah,
receptive.
more
Yeah.
receptive, and then we're listening. So
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
last, what can you say to anybody that is needing something today? I think we spoke about, and I could speak to you for hours. I always say this to every person that I have. I'm like, la, 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 la. Michelle, shut up, shut up. This, like, because it's just you're so intriguing.
Yeah. Yes.
and,
Yeah.
um, and I know we could probably go, like you said, down 15 different avenues.
Yeah.
But
15
what
different
could you
avenues.
say
Yeah.
to anybody that is perhaps in a state of funk at the moment and not trusting?
Oh, yeah. you have to go in your hole a bit. It sounds
Mm.
sort of counterintuitive, but um, you know, it's difficult to seek the light if you're in a dark place. And it's not, I don't really encourage that. It's like there's nothing to fear in your dark place. There really isn't. It's just coming to understand yourself and
Mm.
your truth and face what it is that's keeping you there. And every time you face it and you process it and you understand it, you integrate it back into yourself, right? So that's
Mm.
what you've got to do. And not an easy thing necessarily, of course. And you probably need to seek out someone that might guide you to
Yeah.
doing that. But the worst thing to do is to ignore it. It will become your ball and chain if you do.
Yes. Yes. And thank you for those beautiful resonance of those words. And guys, remember, there's always somebody in spirit that is aligning with you. Always.
Always. Oh, yeah.
Always. And, you know, sometimes some of the most magical stories is when people are at their end of their tether and they're like, just they scream out to God or they scream out and then something changes.
Mm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
I think and believe that we're getting rid of the suppressive energy, which is the control.
Yeah.
And we're navigating a few rocky roads ahead, you know, in these timelines. So
Yeah.
find your space, find your tribe, find your
Mm.
person that can help you just
Yeah.
walk with you on your
Companionship, very
journey.
important. Very important. Don't be alone.
Very much
Yeah.
so. Very, very much
Mm.
so.
Mm.
So, Jade, thank you so much for being here and keeping it real tonight in your
No.
part of the world and my daytime. And where can people find you?
Um, www.londonthetahealer.co.uk. That's my
Beautiful.
website.
And I'll
Yeah.
put that on the link as well in the description. So, guys, remember, we're keeping it real. We're becoming more authentic in our reality. And as you know, love is why we are here. That is what we are
Absolutely.
all have inside of us. It's not outside of us, it's always inside. And the simple analogy of our hearts are beating right now and they're in sync and we don't have to tell them to beat. That already is how our hearts gift us love because it's gifting to all parts of our body. So remember, we're here for one another and I love you all. And I'm very, very grateful to you, Jade, for this time. And I'm going to
Oh,
say
great.
bye to all the viewers and thank you for joining us on Keeping It Real. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.